The conference room smelled like burnt coffee and lemon disinfectant, a scent Marcus Reed had learned to associate with silence. 12 chairs, 11 occupied, one empty at the head of the table, waiting for Daniel Whitaker. Marcus sat straight, notebook closed, pen aligned at the edge like a soldier's spine. The projector hummed softly, throwing a pale spreadsheet glow across the wall. He could feel eyes sliding past him, over him, the way they always did when the meeting hadn't officially started. Daniel walked in late, as usual. He didn't apologize. He never did. "All right," Daniel said, dropping into his chair, eyes flicking toward Marcus with a smile that never reached them. "Let's see what our diversity hire cooked up." The room laughed, quick, nervous, incomplete. A couple people stared at their screens. Someone coughed. Marcus felt heat rush to his ears, then drain just as fast, leaving something colder behind. He opened his mouth, then closed it. He'd learned that lesson early. Speak too fast, and you confirm what they already think. Daniel leaned back, folding his arms. "Relax, Marcus. It's a joke. You people are always so sensitive." The word people landed heavier than the rest. Marcus looked around the table. No one met his eyes. Not Sarah from finance. Not Kyle, who'd asked Marcus for help on his last report. Not even Linda from HR, sitting 3 seats down, lips pressed tight. The projector flickered. Marcus finally spoke, his voice steady in a way that surprised even him. "Can we focus on the numbers?" Daniel smiled wider. "Sure," he said, "if you can keep up." Somewhere in the room, a phone began recording, and Marcus didn't know it yet, but this meeting was about to end more than a presentation. Marcus Reed arrived 10 minutes early, because arriving on time was never enough. The conference room lights buzzed faintly as he set his laptop down and aligned his notes, careful, deliberate. He checked the slides again, even though he'd checked them 3 times already. Revenue projections, cost adjustments, clean, precise work. Sarah from finance slipped in first. "Morning," she said, eyes warm but cautious. "Morning," Marcus replied. Kyle followed, then 2 analysts, then Linda from HR. Chairs filled, laptops opened. The room settled into a familiar quiet that wasn't calm so much as waiting. Marcus noticed the empty chair at the head of the table. Daniel Whitaker was late. Again. At 9:05, the door swung open. Daniel walked in smiling, coffee in hand, confidence trailing him like cologne. "Hope we didn't start without you," he said, not waiting for an answer. "No," Linda said quickly. "We were just getting settled." Daniel dropped into his chair and glanced at Marcus's screen. "All right, Marcus. Let's see what you've got." Marcus nodded and stood. He felt the usual tightening in his chest as he faced the room, but his voice came out steady. "As you can see, Q3 performance exceeded projections by 4%. Daniel held up a hand. "Slow down. Not all of us majored in, what was it again? Economics," Marcus said. "Right." Daniel smiled, just making sure. A couple people laughed. Not loudly, not proudly, enough to register. Marcus clicked to the next slide. Customer retention increased primarily due to our diversity hire working overtime, Daniel said, leaning back. "Gotta say, HR really hit their quota with you." The laugh this time was sharper, shorter. Marcus felt it then. The heat, the drop, the familiar recalibration inside his body. He kept his eyes on the screen. "These numbers reflect a team effort," he said. Daniel waved a hand. "Relax. It's a joke." Silence followed, thick and immediate. "You people are always so sensitive," Daniel added lightly. Marcus turned. He looked at Daniel fully now. "Can we keep this professional?" Marcus asked. The room froze. Daniel's smile thinned. "That is professional. If you can't handle a little humor, maybe this isn't the place for you." Marcus heard his own breathing. Slow, controlled. "I'm here to present the data," he said. "Nothing else." Daniel shrugged. "All right, continue, if you can keep up." Someone shifted in their seat. Kyle stared at his laptop. Sarah's jaw tightened. Marcus clicked forward. As he spoke, he became aware of something else. A faint sound, barely audible. A phone vibrating. He glanced briefly to his left. An analyst had her phone face down on the table. The screen glowed red. Recording. Marcus didn't miss a word. He finished the presentation cleanly, efficiently, as if the room hadn't tilted beneath him. When he sat down, Daniel clapped once. See? Not so hard. No one joined in. The meeting adjourned awkwardly. Chairs scraped. People filed out too quickly. As Marcus gathered his things, Linda caught his eye. She looked like she wanted to say something. She didn't. Marcus walked out with his notes under his arm, pulse steady, heart loud. Behind him, Daniel laughed. And somewhere in the building, the recording kept running. Marcus didn't go back to his desk right away. He walked past it, past the glass-walled offices and the quiet hum of keyboards, and into the stairwell. The door closed behind him with a heavy click, sealing out the office noise. Concrete walls, fluorescent light, the smell of dust and cold air. He leaned against the railing and exhaled. The meeting replayed in fragments he couldn't stop. Daniel's smile, the laugh that followed too fast, the word people, the way no one spoke up, not even the ones who smiled at Marcus in the hallway on good days. He counted his breaths until his hands stopped shaking. When he finally returned to his desk, his inbox was already filling. You okay? Kyle, that was uncomfortable. I'm sorry. Sarah, hey, call me later. Unknown number. Marcus stared at the messages. None of them said what had actually happened. None of them named it. He typed a short reply to Kyle, I'm fine, then closed his email. 10 minutes later, Linda from HR appeared beside his cubicle. Marcus, she said softly, do you have a moment? He looked up. Sure. Her office felt intentionally neutral. Pale walls. No personal photos. A bowl of mints untouched on the desk. She gestured for him to sit. I wanted to check in after the meeting, she said. Marcus nodded. Waiting. I know things got tense. Tense. The word landed flat. Daniel's voice echoed in Marcus's head. You people, I want you to know, Linda continued, that we take all concerns seriously. If you felt uncomfortable, we have processes in place. Processes? Was that appropriate? Marcus asked quietly. Linda hesitated. Context matters. He watched her choose every word. And context includes patterns, right? She folded her hands. If you'd like to file a formal complaint, I can walk you through that. Marcus leaned back. What happens if I do? There would be a review, she said. Interviews. Documentation. And Daniel? Marcus asked. Linda looked down. He would be informed. Marcus nodded slowly. So he'd know it was me. She didn't answer. After he left HR, the office felt different. Quieter. Eyes flicked up and away. Conversations paused when he passed. At lunch, Marcus sat alone. He scrolled through his phone, pretending to read news while his thoughts raced. At 1:17 p.m., his phone buzzed. Unknown number again. Hello, he said. Marcus, a woman asked. Her voice was tight. This is Emily, from Analytics. He remembered her now, the red recording light. I recorded the meeting, she said quickly. I didn't know if I should, but I did. Marcus closed his eyes. It wasn't okay, Emily continued, and it's not the first time. Someone needed to have proof. Thank you, Marcus said. The word felt small. I sent it to myself, she added. And someone else. Who? Legal, she said. And HR. Marcus felt a strange mix of relief and fear twist in his chest. That afternoon, Daniel strolled past Marcus's desk, coffee in hand. Hey, Daniel said casually. No hard feelings, right? Marcus looked up. You embarrass me. Daniel smirked. You embarrass yourself. Learn to take a joke. He walked away. At 3:02 p.m., Marcus received a calendar invite. Meeting. Immediate attendees. HR legal location. Conference room B. The room was colder this time. Two people Marcus had never met sat beside Linda. One introduced herself as corporate counsel. The other didn't introduce himself at all. We're conducting a review, the lawyer said. A recording has been submitted. Marcus swallowed. I didn't submit it. We know, she said. Linda wouldn't meet his eyes. We want to understand the impact of the comments made. The lawyer continued. On you. Marcus thought of every meeting before this one, every silence, every laugh that wasn't meant for him. They weren't jokes, he said. They were reminders. Reminders of what? The man asked. That I don't belong here, Marcus said. That I'm tolerated, not respected. Silence followed. When Marcus left the room, the sun was already low, casting long shadows across the office floor. At 4:47 p.m., Daniel was called into HR. At 4:49 p.m., the entire floor went quiet. At 4:51 p.m., Marcus's phone buzzed again. Whatever happens, Emily texted, you're not crazy. Marcus leaned back in his chair, staring at the ceiling. For the first time that day, he allowed himself to wonder, what if this didn't disappear? What if it finally ended something? Marcus slept badly that night. Not because of fear exactly, but because his mind kept arranging moments into a shape he couldn't unsee. Daniel's jokes hadn't come from nowhere. They'd been layered, tested, repeated. Small enough to dismiss one by one, heavy enough to crush him when stacked together. By morning, Marcus was tired in a way sleep didn't fix. At work, his access badge hesitated before turning green, just a second too long. His stomach tightened before the door unlocked. Nothing had changed. Everything had. At 9:12 a.m., an email arrived from HR. As part of an ongoing review, please document any previous interactions you believe are relevant. Marcus stared at the screen. Relevant. He opened a blank document. The first memory came fast. Daniel's first performance review. 2 years ago. You're sharp, Daniel had said then. Articulate. Just need to work on fitting in. Marcus had asked what that meant. Daniel had laughed. You know, office culture. Marcus typed it out. His fingers moved faster as more followed. The time Daniel told him clients found him intimidating. The joke about Marcus's aggressive tone during a meeting where he'd spoken less than anyone else. The email praising his work but suggesting he soften his edges. The promotion that went to Kyle, with less experience, because leadership wanted someone more relatable. By noon, the document was 4 pages long. Marcus realized something unsettling. None of it had felt extreme at the time. Each moment alone had been survivable. Together, they told a story. At lunch, Sarah sat across from him without asking. I heard HR's involved, she said quietly. So did I, Marcus replied. She picked at her salad. I should have said something yesterday. He looked at her. Why didn't you? She hesitated. Because Daniel decides bonuses. Because I didn't want to be next. Marcus nodded. He understood that answer too well. That afternoon, legal asked follow-up questions. Precise ones. Dates. Witnesses. Wording. Why now? Marcus finally asked, why is this different? The lawyer folded her hands. Because there's evidence. And because the pattern is clear. Pattern. At 3:30, Marcus overheard Daniel arguing in his office. The door was closed, but Daniel's voice carried. This is ridiculous. Daniel snapped. It was a joke. Marcus didn't hear the response. At 4:02, an internal memo went out. Daniel Whitaker has been placed on administrative leave, pending review. The office buzzed. Conversations flared and died. People whispered like the walls had ears. Kyle stopped by Marcus's desk. Damn, he said. I didn't think they'd actually do anything. Marcus watched him carefully. Why not? Kyle shrugged. You know how it is. Marcus did. By the next morning, the story had grown teeth. A group chat Marcus wasn't part lit up. Someone leaked the audio. Not to the public. Not yet. But enough people had heard it that denial felt impossible. Daniel's words sounded worse played back. Stripped of context. Stripped of laughter. You people. The phrase echoed. HR called Marcus in again. This time, Linda's voice shook. We didn't realize how extensive it was, she said. The documentation. The corroboration. Marcus leaned forward. You mean you didn't look? Linda flinched. We're reassessing our oversight, she said. He almost laughed. By Wednesday, executives were involved. Apologies arrived carefully worded, heavy on regret and light on accountability. We value diversity. We're committed to inclusion. This does not reflect our values. Marcus read them all and felt nothing. Emily stopped him near the elevators. They're panicking, she whispered. Legal calms all of them. For what? Marcus asked. For exposure, she said. That word followed him home. At night, Marcus sat at his kitchen table, laptop open, document glowing. He added one more line. This wasn't an incident. It was permission. Thursday morning, HR sent another meeting request. Subject, resolution discussion. Minutes later, his phone rang. Unknown number. Marcus read. A man said, "This is corporate HR. We'll be meeting shortly." How long? Marcus asked. There was a pause. Brief, the man said. Very brief. Marcus ended the call and sat still. He thought about all the times he'd stayed quiet to survive. All the times he'd chosen professionalism over truth. All the times he'd wondered if he was imagining things. He wasn't imagining them. At 10:47 a.m., Daniel's office was emptied. At 10:52 a.m., security escorted him out. At 10:55 a.m., Marcus's calendar alert chimed. He stood, heart pounding, not with victory, but with something heavier. Justice. He was learning didn't feel like relief. It felt like standing in the open after years underground, blinking against the light, unsure what would burn and what would finally heal. Conference room looked different when power shifted. The chairs were arranged more tightly. The table cleared of coffee cups and notebooks, as if disorder itself had become a liability. Marcus noticed a legal pad stacked neatly at one end, identical and unused. Someone wanted a record. Someone wanted control. Linda sat closest to the door. Two executives Marcus had only seen in company-wide emails took the opposite side. Corporate counsel sat between them, tablet open, eyes sharp. Marcus took the remaining chair. "Thank you for coming, Marcus," one executive said. "We know this has been difficult." Difficult was what people said when they meant damaging. "We want to be clear," the lawyer added. "This conversation is part of our internal process. It's confidential." Marcus nodded. "So was the meeting." Silence flickered. "We've reviewed the recording," the executive continued, "and the documentation you provided." "And?" Marcus asked. The executive folded his hands. "Mr. Whitaker's behavior violated company policy." Marcus waited. "We've accepted his resignation." Linda said quickly. "Resignation. So he quit," Marcus said, "before he was fired." "It was mutual," the executive said. Marcus leaned back. "Is that what you'll tell everyone?" The lawyer's eyes lifted. "We'll say he's no longer with the company." "That avoids responsibility," Marcus said. The room tightened. "This organization doesn't tolerate discrimination," the executive said. Marcus met his gaze. "It did, for years." No one interrupted him this time. "You tolerated it because it was manageable," Marcus continued, "because it didn't cost you anything." "That's not fair," Linda said softly. "It's accurate," Marcus replied. The lawyer tapped her tablet. "We want to discuss next steps." "Like what?" Marcus asked. "Support," she said. "Resources. Mediation." "Mediation with who?" Marcus asked. "He's gone." The executive cleared his throat. "With the organization." Marcus let out a short breath. "You want to mediate the harm without naming it." The executive's jaw tightened. "We also want to address your future here," he said. "We value your contributions." Marcus thought of every time he'd been told to wait, to be patient, to understand. "What does that mean?" Marcus asked. "It means," the lawyer said, "that we're prepared to offer you a retention package." Marcus laughed once, sharp and involuntary. "So the solution is money." "It's compensation," the executive corrected. "For what?" Marcus asked. Silence. Linda looked stricken. "That's not." "You want this contained," Marcus said. "You want it resolved quietly." The lawyer didn't deny it. Marcus stood. "I didn't ask for this," he said. "I didn't record that meeting. I didn't leak it. I just showed up to work." "Sit down," the executive said. Marcus didn't. "You keep saying this doesn't reflect your values," Marcus continued. "But values don't hide. They show up when no one's watching. The room was still. The executive sighed. What do you want? The question landed heavier than anything else. Marcus thought carefully. I want acknowledgement, he said. Public. Internal. I want you to name what happened and why. The lawyer frowned. That creates risk. So does pretending it didn't happen? Marcus said. I want changes, Marcus continued. Not trainings. Accountability. Clear consequences. And Linda asked, and I want protection, Marcus said. Not just for me, for the next person. The executive exchanged a glance with the lawyer. We'll consider your requests, the executive said. Marcus nodded. Do that. He gathered his jacket. As he reached the door, the lawyer spoke again. Marcus, this could affect your career. Marcus turned. It already has. He left the room without waiting for dismissal. Outside, the office felt unnaturally bright. Conversations resumed in fragments as he passed. Some people nodded. Some looked away. Some stared with a mix of awe and fear. Emily caught up with him near the elevators. They said he's gone, she whispered. Marcus nodded. They said he resigned. Emily frowned. Same difference. No, Marcus said. Words matter. That afternoon, a company-wide email went out. We are committed to fostering a respectful workplace. Recent events have prompted reflection. Marcus closed it without finishing. At 5:03 p.m., he received another calendar alert. Follow-up discussion. Tomorrow. He shut down his computer. As he stepped outside, the city air felt colder than it should have. Cars rushed past. People moved on with their evenings. Marcus stood on the sidewalk, phone buzzing in his pocket with messages he didn't open. Daniel was gone, but the system that made him possible was still very much intact. And Marcus understood something clearly now. Ending one man was easy. Ending permission would take more. The story escaped containment before anyone admitted it had teeth. Marcus learned it the same way he learned most things lately, by accident. He was standing at the copier when Sarah rushed in, phone clenched in her hand, face pale. Have you seen this? She whispered. He shook his head. She turned the screen toward him. A clipped audio waveform sat beneath a headline posted in an internal forum meant for collaboration, not crisis. You people are always so sensitive. The room seemed to tilt. It's spreading, Sarah said. Not officially, but everyone's sharing it. Marcus stepped back from the copier. The machine beeped impatient, but he didn't notice. By mid-morning, the audio had escaped the building. Someone forwarded it outside. Someone else reposted it with context. The clip traveled faster than the company's silence ever had. At 10:11 a.m., corporate communications sent an email. We are aware of an unauthorized recording circulating online. We are investigating. Unauthorized. The word burned. Emily found Marcus near the break room. They're freaking out, she said. Legal just locked down floors 5 and 6. For what? Marcus asked. For statements. Emily said, for damage control. Marcus nodded slowly. Not for accountability. No, Emily agreed. For survival. By noon, news sites picked it up. Not national yet, but close enough to scare executives. Articles framed it carefully. Allegations of racially insensitive remarks at major firm. Insensitive. Marcus read the comments once and stopped. Some supported him. Others questioned his tone, his intentions, his past. Familiar patterns, louder now. At 1:30, HR called him again. This is escalating, Linda said, voice strained. We need to align. Align with what? Marcus asked. With facts, she said. Marcus exhaled. The facts are in the audio. There's nuance, Linda said. There's evidence, Marcus replied. She didn't respond. An hour later, Marcus received a message from an unknown sender. You didn't have to do this. He stared at it, pulse steady. He deleted it without replying. At 3:04 p.m., Daniel's name trended internally. Not praise, not defense. People shared stories, screenshots, memories they'd kept quiet. The pattern revealed itself without Marcus lifting a finger. Kyle stopped by Marcus's desk, eyes wide. They're saying he did this before. To other people. Marcus nodded. I know. Kyle swallowed. I didn't. Marcus looked at him. You could have. Kyle didn't argue. At 4:20, an emergency town hall was announced. Executives appeared on screen, faces grave, voices polished. We fell short, the CEO said. We failed to uphold our values. Marcus listened, arms crossed. We are taking decisive action, she continued. Effective immediately. Daniel's name wasn't mentioned. Neither was Marcus's. Afterward, Marcus shut his laptop and leaned back. His phone buzzed constantly. Friends, strangers, journalists. Emily texted. They're asking who recorded it. Marcus replied, not my story to tell. At home that night, Marcus sat on his couch, lights off, city noise drifting in through the window. He watched the audio clip play again on his screen, the words sounding heavier each time. Daniel's voice sounded smaller now, meaner, unprotected. Marcus felt no joy in it. He thought about his mother, who'd taught him early how to be careful, how to smile just enough, how to stay employed. He thought about how tired he was. At 9:37 p.m., HR emailed again. We would like to discuss next steps first thing tomorrow. Marcus closed his laptop. Outside, sirens passed. Somewhere else, another meeting was happening. Another decision made without the people most affected. Marcus lay back and stared at the ceiling. Exposure, he realized, wasn't justice. It was pressure. Pressure forced choices. Pressure revealed priorities. The company would survive this. He knew that. Corporations always did. The question wasn't whether Daniel would fall further. He already had. The question was what the company would sacrifice to prove it cared, and whether Marcus would be one of the costs. His phone buzzed one last time. A notification. Major outlet requesting comment from Marcus Reed. Marcus turned the phone face down. Tomorrow would decide whether the story ended with a statement or with change. And for the first time since the meeting, Marcus felt something close to fear. Not of Daniel, of what truth demanded once it was loose. The clock on the wall ticked louder than it should have. Marcus noticed at the moment he sat down how each second seemed to announce itself, sharp and impatient. Conference room A was larger than the others, reserved for moments that mattered. Legal pads waited at every seat. Water bottles were aligned with military precision. This meeting would be short. Everyone knew that. The head of HR entered first, followed by two executives Marcus had never met. Corporate counsel came last, tablet already glowing. No one smiled. Thank you for being here, the HR director said. We'll keep this concise. Concise meant controlled. Marcus folded his hands. Go ahead. The lawyer spoke. Based on our investigation, the recording, corroborating accounts, and prior documentation, the company has determined that Daniel Whitaker violated multiple policies. Marcus waited. Effective immediately, she continued. His employment has been terminated for cause. The words landed quietly. Not resignation. Not mutual. Terminated. The HR director cleared her throat. This decision was made unanimously. Marcus nodded once. At 9:14 a.m., the executive added, Daniel was informed. At 9:17, the lawyer said his access was revoked. At 9:19, the HR director finished. Security escorted him out. Minutes. The precision felt intentional, like a demonstration. Marcus leaned back. And the statement? The executive slid a document across the table. We have concluded our review and taken appropriate action. Marcus read it once. Then again. There's no acknowledgement of harm, he said. There's accountability, the executive replied. For him, Marcus said, not for the system. The HR director hesitated. We're prepared to announce internal reforms. Marcus looked up. Prepared doesn't mean committed. The lawyer interjected. We understand this has been difficult for you. We're offering additional support. Marcus laughed softly. You keep saying that. The executive straightened. Marcus, we acted quickly. You acted when it became expensive not to, Marcus said. Silence followed. The HR director shifted. We want you to know retaliation will not be tolerated. Marcus met her eyes. It already happened. For years. The executive exhaled. What do you want now? The question again. Marcus thought of the recording, the headlines, the comments dissecting his life. I want to keep my job, he said, without being punished for surviving this. You will, the HR director said quickly. I want transparency, Marcus continued, not just statements. Follow through. We'll schedule reviews, the executive said. I want the truth documented, Marcus said. In writing, the lawyer typed rapidly. And I want this to matter beyond today, Marcus finished. The HR director nodded. It will. Marcus didn't say he believed her. The meeting ended without ceremony. As Marcus stood, the lawyer spoke again. This happened fast. Marcus paused. It only looks fast because it took so long. Outside the room, the office buzzed like a disturbed hive. People whispered. Phones vibrated. Screens refreshed. Emily caught up with him near the elevators. He's gone, she said. For real? Marcus nodded. I know. HR just sent the email, she added. Everyone's shocked. Marcus glanced around. They're shocked it had consequences. Emily swallowed. Are you okay? Marcus considered the question. I'm standing, he said. At his desk, Marcus opened a company-wide email. Daniel Whitaker's employment has been terminated following a review of conduct that violated our standards. No apology. No name for what it was. Kyle stopped by wide-eyed. That was fast. Marcus looked up. It was overdue. Kyle shifted uncomfortably. People are saying you're brave. Marcus said nothing. At lunch, Marcus ate alone again. He watched co-workers cluster in corners, voices low. The office had learned something today, though it wasn't clear what. By afternoon, news sites updated their headlines. Company fires manager after racist remark surface. The word racist appeared for the first time. Marcus felt a weight settle, not lift. At 4:30, HR sent one more message. Please reach out if you need anything. Marcus closed it without replying. As he left the building, cameras waited across the street. Reporters murmured. A producer glanced his way. Marcus kept walking. The city swallowed him whole. Noise, movement, indifference. He breathed it in. Daniel was finished. But Marcus understood now. Endings were rarely clean. This one had taken minutes. What came after would take longer. And Marcus would have to decide how much of himself he was willing to spend to make sure those minutes meant something more than a headline. The office did not return to normal. It pretended to. People smiled more carefully now. Voices lowered as if volume itself could offend. Posters about inclusion appeared on walls that had been blank for years. A new calendar invite, labeled listening session, circulated with mandatory attendance. Marcus watched all of it with a distance he couldn't close. On Monday morning, his badge worked instantly. No hesitation. The small victory felt hollow. Sarah stopped by his desk with coffee. I didn't know what you'd take, she said. So I guessed. Thanks, Marcus replied. She lingered. They're saying this will change things. Marcus nodded. They always say that. Kyle hovered nearby, hands in pockets. If you need backup in meetings, he said quickly, I've got you. Marcus studied him. Why now? Kyle flushed. Because I saw what silence costs. Marcus accepted that answer. It didn't erase the past, but acknowledged it. The listening session was held in the largest conference room. Executives sat in front. HR facilitated. A consultant spoke about safe spaces and brave conversations. Marcus listened as co-workers shared carefully edited experiences. Words like uncomfortable and misunderstanding floated freely. Racism appeared once, spoken hesitantly, as if it might bite. When Marcus spoke, the room stilled. This wasn't confusion, he said. It was permission. The consultant nodded vigorously. Someone took notes. Afterward, an executive thanked Marcus for his honesty. It took courage, she said. Marcus wanted to ask why courage had been required to tell the truth. Emails followed. Surveys. Committees. At home, Marcus slept in short stretches. Dreams replayed meetings that never ended. Daniel's voice appeared less often, replaced by quieter sounds. Chairs scraping, laughter dying too late. One evening, his mother called. I saw the news, she said. Marcus closed his eyes. I figured you would. I'm proud of you, she said softly, but I worry. I know, Marcus replied. Just remember, she said, you don't owe them your peace. The word stayed with him. Midweek, Marcus received an offer, a retention bonus, a title adjustment, a seat on a newly formed advisory council. The email framed it as opportunity. Marcus read it 3 times before responding. I need time. At work. He noticed changes he hadn't expected. People asked his opinion more, listened longer. Some avoided him entirely. Power had shifted, but unevenly. Emily stopped by one afternoon. They want me on a panel, she said, about speaking up. Marcus smiled faintly. Will you? She nodded. Yes, but only if they don't make me the moral of the story. Marcus laughed quietly. Good. On Friday, Marcus ran into Linda in the hallway. I wanted to say, Linda began, I should have done more sooner. Marcus looked at her. Why didn't you? She hesitated. Because pushing too hard costs you things. Marcus nodded. It cost me things too. Linda swallowed. I know. The conversation ended there. That night, Marcus sat at his kitchen table, the retention offer open on his laptop. Money, stability, influence. He thought about staying, about shaping change from inside, about exhaustion that never quite left. He also thought about leaving, about spaces that didn't require him to prove harm before it was believed. The choice wasn't clean. On Monday morning, a new hire joined the team, a black woman, younger than Marcus had been when he started. She smiled nervously during introductions. After the meeting, she approached Marcus. Hey, she said, I just wanted to say, I heard what you did. Marcus felt his chest tighten. I didn't do it alone. She nodded. Still, it matters. As she walked away, Marcus realized something unexpected. This was the cost no one talked about. Once you stand in the open, you become a marker, a warning, a promise. That afternoon, Marcus emailed HR. I've made a decision. They responded within minutes. At the end of the day, Marcus packed his bag slowly. He looked around his desk, photos, notes, the plan he kept alive longer than expected. The office hummed on. As he stepped into the elevator, he didn't feel triumphant or defeated. He felt change. The doors closed. The building descended. And Marcus understood that justice, when it comes, doesn't erase what was lost. It leaves you deciding what to carry forward and what to finally put down. Marcus woke early, before the sun crested the horizon. The city was quiet, soft fog clinging to the streets like it was trying to hold back the day. For once, he didn't rush to check emails or news alerts. He made coffee black and sat by the window, watching the faint glimmer of lights reflecting off glass towers. He thought about the weeks that had passed. Daniel was gone. The recording had circulated. The company had reacted. The internal reforms, listening sessions, and statements were all in place. Publicly, justice appeared tidy. Privately, it was not. He had seen the cost. The lingering fear in co-workers' eyes. The hesitance in voices. The constant calculation of who would speak next and who would remain silent. Courage had its price, and Marcus was still paying. The retention offer sat unopened on his laptop. The advisory council, the extra title, the promises of influence, they were all symbols, not absolution. He had learned that control over narrative rarely equaled control over healing. At 8:30 a.m., Marcus received a message from Emily. Morning. Coffee? He replied immediately. Yes. They met at a small cafe nearby. The aroma of roasted beans filled the air, a normalcy that felt foreign. You okay? Emily asked, stirring her cappuccino. Marcus shrugged. I'm still standing. That's something. She smiled, hesitant. I've seen you at your desk. The attention. People coming to you for guidance. You become a marker. I know, he said. And markers are heavy. Everyone expects something from them. Emily leaned back. Do you regret it? Marcus took a slow sip of coffee. The bitterness was grounding. No, I regret the cost. The sleepless nights. The tension. But not speaking up. She nodded. It's just, Everyone sees the end, the firing, the statements. They don't see what it takes to get there. Marcus glanced out the window. Cars slid past in the early morning light. They'll learn eventually, but the real work, that stays. By mid-morning, Marcus returned to the office. The atmosphere was subdued. Posters about inclusion and equality lined the hallways. HR had created a new committee tasked with monitoring workplace conduct. Policies were revised. Some people whispered praise. Others whispered resentment. Marcus understood that both reactions were natural. He sat at his desk, pulling open retention off again. He read the language carefully. Stability, influence, recognition, all tempting, all a way to bind him to a system he still questioned. He closed the laptop. Standing, he walked to the window and looked down at the city streets below. Life went on. People moved through routines, mostly unaware of the small victories, the quiet struggles, the cost of a single person deciding to say, enough. At noon, the new hire, Naomi, stopped by his desk. Her hands fidgeted with the straps of her bag. "Hi," she said softly. "I just want to say thanks for what you did." Marcus regarded her for a moment. Her eyes were wide, alert, curious, the weight of expectation already resting lightly on her shoulders. "I didn't do it alone," he said. "There were others who made it possible, and some who didn't speak up. You'll have to decide where you stand." She nodded. "I will." The office felt smaller now, more intimate. The echoes of Daniel's behavior had faded, but the memory lingered, not as a threat, but as a lesson. Marcus spent the afternoon organizing his workspace. He removed outdated files, stacked reports, and carefully placed personal notes into a drawer labeled Keep. Some of these papers were reminders of progress. Some were evidence of things that had gone wrong. By 5 p.m., the floor was mostly empty. Only a few co-workers remained, quietly typing, making calls, wrapping up their day. Marcus paused at his cubicle, listening to the soft hum of air conditioning and the distant murmur of traffic outside. He thought of the words he had spoken in Conference Room B. This wasn't an incident. It was permission. That truth remained. Systems could change. People could be fired. Policies could be revised. But culture was a long game, subtle, persistent, hard to rewrite in a single sweep. Marcus understood that his role was ongoing, not to fight every battle personally, but to ensure that the memory of what happened informed the future, to guard against permission being given again. At 6:15 p.m., Emily returned to say goodbye. "Coffee tomorrow?" she asked, playful but serious. Marcus smiled. "Yes, but this time, let's talk about life beyond the office." They left together, the elevator carrying them down. The city stretched before them, lights glowing, life moving, indifferent yet resilient. Marcus walked beside her on the sidewalk, reflecting on what had been lost and gained. There was fatigue, yes, and weariness, but also clarity. Justice had come in minutes for Daniel. Exposure had followed rapidly. Consequences had landed. But for Marcus, the work of navigating aftermath, of reclaiming power and resilience, would take longer. He thought of the young woman entering the company. He thought of the colleagues who had spoken quietly, of Emily who had acted with courage, and of the countless invisible witnesses who could one day choose action over silence. And Marcus understood finally that victory was partial, imperfect. It did not erase fear or pain. It did not make every ally genuine or every system accountable. But it opened the door. He had stood, and that mattered. He had named truth, and that mattered. He had survived, and that mattered. As the evening deepened and city lights reflected off glass towers, Marcus made a decision. He would stay, but on his terms. He would guide where he could, support where necessary, and protect himself when required. The world had not been entirely fair, nor had it been entirely just. But Marcus could shape what remained. And in that space, he found something like peace. He looked at the skyline. The sun had fully set. Lights glittered against the dark sky. And for the first time in weeks, Marcus breathed freely. Justice had come. The system had responded. The cost remained. And Marcus, quietly, was ready to carry what mattered forward. Weeks had passed since Daniel Whitaker's termination, Yet the echoes of that meeting still reverberated through the office like faint tremors after an earthquake. Marcus arrived early as usual, but today the hum of activity felt different. Conversations weren't just hushed. They were deliberate, cautious. People glanced at him, not with awe or fear, but with questions, silently asking, "What now?" He walked past HR, where Linda spoke quietly to a small group. Their expressions were serious, some wary, others resigned. Marcus sensed that the work she had avoided for years was finally catching up to her. Accountability, he realized, traveled slower than injustice. In the break room, Naomi, the new hire, arranged her lunch carefully on a plate. As if preparing for inspection, she looked up when Marcus entered. "Morning," she said softly. "Morning," Marcus replied. He offered a nod of acknowledgement. "Can I ask you something?" she said, hesitating. "Of course," Marcus said, leaning against the counter. "Does speaking up always work?" Her voice carried the weight of someone still learning how much courage could cost. Marcus thought of the meeting, the recording, Daniel's departure, the internal reforms, and the lingering skepticism of executives. "Not always," he said. "Sometimes the cost is higher than you expect. But if no one speaks, nothing changes." She nodded. "I guess that's better than staying silent." "Better for you," Marcus said, "and maybe for the next person." He left the break room and headed to his desk, noticing a new energy in the office. People walked with cautious confidence. Managers avoided coded jokes. Teams collaborated more openly. The reforms were in place, not perfect, not complete, but visible. He felt a faint sense of satisfaction, tempered by the awareness that culture could revert if vigilance faltered. At 10:15 a.m., a corporate-wide email arrived. New inclusion and anti-harassment policies will be enforced immediately. Training modules and reporting systems have been updated. Marcus read the lines carefully, noting the precise wording. Enforcement, not just statements. He allowed himself a small nod. Action mattered more than words. Later, during a one-on-one with Linda, she finally addressed the elephant in the room. "Marcus, I want to apologize," she said. "I sincere. For waiting, for letting it escalate before acting." He studied her expression. "You weren't wrong in intention, but you were wrong in timing. That mattered." She exhaled. "I know. I've learned the hard way." Marcus considered her words. Change, he realized, required reflection and accountability, even from those in HR. He nodded, not for forgiveness, but for acknowledgement. At lunch, he met Emily outside the office. Sunlight spilled across the sidewalk. They walked in silence for a few blocks before she spoke. "They asked me to join the Diversity Council," she said. "I'm hesitant, not sure I want to be part of it." "Why?" Marcus asked. "Because it feels performative," she said. "I want to make change, not be a token or a figurehead." Marcus smiled faintly. "Then don't be. Shape it or walk away. Both are valid." They paused at a crosswalk, the city bustling around them. The air felt charged, alive, like something was shifting but not yet solidified. Back in the office, Marcus received a message from a journalist. She requested a statement about the company's reforms, referencing the audio recording that had gone viral weeks ago. Marcus stared at the screen. He didn't feel the need to respond immediately. Influence, he realized, could be wielded selectively. He typed a short note to Emily. "We'll decide together." By late afternoon, Marcus walked past the empty conference room where Daniel's office had been. Security still left the door ajar. The memory lingered, a quiet reminder that change had been imposed from the top, but the underlying attitudes had not vanished entirely. He paused, hand on the frame, and thought of the meetings, the whispers, the laughter that had always landed wrong. He had learned to navigate them, to protect himself, and to speak when silence was no longer an option. Marcus realized that resilience wasn't a shield. It was a responsibility. In his inbox, an email from the CEO awaited. Not congratulatory, not defensive, but direct. "We acknowledge the recent events and appreciate your commitment to fostering a respectful workplace. Your leadership in this matter has been noted." Marcus didn't reply. Recognition was irrelevant compared to the work that remained. By evening, the office emptied slowly. He watched his co-workers leave, lights flicking off one by one. Some lingered, typing, reflecting, planning. The energy had shifted, but wasn't uniform. Change, he understood, traveled unevenly, reaching some for others. Marcus returned to his desk, closing the retention offer for the final time. Money, title, influence, they were tools, not solutions. He left them behind. What remained was accountability, vigilance, and the choice of whether to stay engaged or step away. As he packed up, Naomi appeared one more time. "Thank you," she said quietly. Marcus nodded. "No, keep watching, keep speaking." She smiled faintly and left. Marcus took a deep breath. The office was silent now. The day's tension settled into quiet hums of air conditioning and electronics. He looked out the window, the city lights stretching like veins of movement, relentless and indifferent. Change had begun, but Marcus knew the work of shaping culture would outlast any firing or reform. He had survived, yes, but he would continue to navigate, to guide, to remind others that permission to harm was never acceptable. And in that understanding, he found a sense of purpose, one that extended beyond headline statements or viral recordings. He left the office, walking into the cool night air, the city alive around him. He carried the lessons, the burdens, the responsibility, and with him, the resolve to ensure that what remained mattered. The ripples of one courageous stand extended far beyond him. And Marcus, for the first time in months, felt ready to see where they would travel next.